Hey, it's your boy, the Casual King, MMA, and today I want to ask the question, when is enough enough? There's a lot of great fighters on the UFC roster right now, but it still feels like some of these events just don't hold your attention span. As a fan, I'm missing cards, which is something I've never done before, and while I'll rewatch the fights, sometimes it just doesn't feel the same. And I mean, when you have Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott, I think that's pretty indicative of the problem. However, I also at the same time think this might not be the most fair comparison. It's a card in Canada, and while Gilbert Burns is the only ranked fighter, I think that's more of a sign about the weakness of the Canadian MMA scene than it is the UFC's matchmaking. Because when we have an Australian card, you have JDM versus Carlos Prates with a stacked undercard. But there still is a problem, right? I mean, it feels like there's a problem, but we've got such a good schedule coming up. Maybe the UFC's overstacking cards. The Saudi Arabian money's coming in, the Qatari money's coming in. They're putting too many stars on these cards. You got the UFC White House card coming up. Maybe that's why they didn't put more names on the Canadian card and were happy to just phone it in with some Canadian fighters. Maybe, but in the same time frame, we had Adesanya main eventing in Seattle. So, is there a problem? It sure feels like there's a problem, and there is. One of the issues is the UFC has between 650 and 850 fighters on the roster. They are contractually obligated to give these fighters 3 fights a year, or offer them 3 fights a year. The fighters don't have to take the fights. And we run into the apex, where champions are made, allegedly. This is the problem. The UFC has too many unranked, no-name fighters. The only way for these fighters to make themselves a name is to put on entertaining fights. So the UFC have a lot of Apex cards. It feels like they're trying more with the numbered events, especially without them being pay-per-views. It's something I really appreciate with the Paramount Plus deal. So it feels like there's some good effort. Like having Adesanya main event Seattle is pretty cool. But the Apex cards are still the Apex cards. I mean, it feels like I'm watching fights to watch fights. As someone who has watched every fight for the last 8 years, there's a lot of guys I don't recognize. There's guys I don't recognize on the main card sometimes of the Apex cards. And while I love the Apex and while I love the Contender Series, I think the main issue is money. The UFC really like to issue contracts to guys 10 and 10, 20 and 20. They get to underpay these guys. And it's hard to justify to yourself. Why are we going to pay like these regional guys who have names for themselves and got money? Why are we going to pay these guys when we can just sign guys off the Contender Series, pay them 10 and 10 and call it a day? Pack the Apex card with these guys. Some guys will make themselves a name, some guys won't. And it's become how do we make the most money? And that's not the right idea to look at it. As the UFC, you aren't really in the position right now to be focused just on the money. You still have to grow the sport. The sport isn't where it's supposed to be yet. It's hard because when you have fights like Max Holloway against Charles Oliveira that are supposed to be bangers and they turn out bad, that's going to turn eyes away from the sports. But you have to put out a consistent product. You can get people turning in week to week. Maybe they just start off with main events. Maybe they only start off with the pay-per-views. Then they watch main events of fight nights. Then they watch main cards of fight nights. And eventually they're watching the whole card. You have a fantastic product. You can get people to tune in. You have to lower the roster size. I think that's the key. Lower the roster size. Give these good guys more fights. And it's hard too because maybe it isn't even a fighter pay thing. Once guys start making money, they want to fight less because they don't need to fight. So I understand the rationale of having underpaid fighters who are hungry. You raise the bonus to 100K. These guys are dogging out for it. I understand a lot of the mentality. But you got to spread out the main events. I want to at least be excited for the main event and the co-main event on every single card. It doesn't have to be crazy, but I want to be excited for it. And then I tune in for those 2 fights and I get fun along the way. Then you spread out those guys. But you can't have Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott. You can't have Gilbert Burns being the only ranked fighter who retires afterwards because he probably should have retired before. You can't do that. You need to put on a consistent product. You need to put on a consistent product. Give me a reason to tune in. Give me a reason to tune in. I will always have fun. I love the UFC. I love fights. I will have fun. Give me a reason to get excited the week before. I want it to be Friday and I want to be excited. I don't want it to be 2 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll turn on the fights and I'll get into it. I'll enjoy it. Give me some more fun. Let me watch videos again. I don't watch UFC Embedded anymore. I don't watch the pre-fight stuff. I don't care. I watch fights and I'll enjoy them, but I want a little more. Give me more, Dana. Give me more. And by giving me more, I mean give me less. Less fighters, maybe less events. Bring the sheen back. Give me a little thing to be excited for. I'm okay missing a weekend to spread the fights out, and the best way to do that is to have less fighters on the roster. Less fighters on the roster, maybe less fights, with more big fights. I think that is the solution, and I think the way to do that is to get rid of the Apex and to stop signing bad guys in the Contender Series. I love the Contender Series at the Apex. I love it. But you gotta stop signing fat heavyweights on Contender Series because the weight class doesn't have enough fighters. Oh, who cares? It has less fighters. So what? You gotta raise the standards. There's some bums fighting on these UFC cards. There's some bums. It's reminding me of Bellator sometimes. I'd tune into an Aaron Pico fight and I'd watch just absolute slop. So you gotta raise the standards. Raise the standards. Less fighters. Maybe less fights. Spread it out a little more. And, you're close. You're close. People are tuning in. Great pay-per-view. Like, our last pay-per-view is amazing. You're going to get a banger on the card. You're going to get a Paulo Costa peak performance. You're going to get a Curtis Blades, Josh Hockett war. You'll get a funny knockout in the mid. Just give me something. Give people a reason to tune in. When I tell people to watch the UFC card, I want to mean it. I don't want to be like, skip this week. Maybe just watch the main event. I want to be like, hey, I want you to tune in at 2 o'clock and watch the whole thing. And I want to do that. Reignite the spark. Please. I don't want to see Aljamain Sterling in the main event. I think it's that simple. You can do better. I know you can do better. You have been doing better. We got some good fights lining up. But back-to-back weeks of stuff I don't care about. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? But that's my rant. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you agreed, because that means you're smart. And if not, oh well. Go watch wrestling or boxing. Whatever. Peace.